It was 2022, and Maluma was on his Pretty Boy World Tour. He was carrying with a whole team, including security, which had been headed by Tony Montana for years. It was all going great, but suddenly, a big contract came in. It was an offer to give a private concert in Fiona's ranch, since they will be celebrating her birthday. They couldn't have let that pass. What they didn't know is that it was a lonely ranch with a lot of animals. So the contract was for a 4 days long tour, so they had to stay there. When they arrived at the ranch, she offered them some rooms to stay, but when they were trying to sleep, they heard some noises that freaked them out, but they didn't care. The second day was dedicated to photography sessions. In the night, they just heard some little noises, so they started caring less about it. On the third day, they did a practice show to see if the lighting and sound was working well, because something could be wrong with it. In the night, not a single beep was made, so they finally slept relaxed. The fourth and last day, it was the final presentation. While Maluma was singing Four Babies, he had to stop the show because of the noises. The public started screaming and were booing Maluma because he didn't want to continue singing and giving the show. But Maluma might have knew something was wrong, very wrong. His security staff took him out of the stage and locked him in his room.
The day after the party, they were hearing noises of the goats and some other animals that had been killed at Fiona Ranch. Maluma started to wonder about the creatures that appeared at Fiona Ranch. Then Fiona talked to Maluma to must get Tony to help her with the legend, because for Fiona her animals were the most precious things. So Maluma traveled to Colombia to go to Japan and left Tony in Culiacan to help Fiona to finish with the creature. So Tony, Fiona, and Phineas went to see which animal had died and which had been injured. So when they started the expedition for the Fiona's big ranch, they discovered three cows, two goats, and Fiona's favorite horse with injuries that may have been from bites and others dead. Then she got very sad and said that whoever killed that unknown creature that killed her ranch animals would give $100,000. That same day, Tony, with the help of Puerto and Phineas, went out to surroundings of the ranch to look for claws or see if they were watching him to finish with him once and for all. But on their way out in the surroundings, they only found the trees damaged by some peculiar claws, but they did not take much importance because they might have been from another animal. They returned to the ranch angry and sad to tell Fiona because they found absolutely nothing. As it was already night, they must have wanted to sleep too. Obviously, they were not going to give up, so they said that tomorrow would be another day.
The next day, at dawn, the Chupacabras returns to the area of Fiona's ranch, but this time was arriving from the front, so a security guard at dawn had seen him in the distance and goes out to see what he was and what he wanted at that time. Then the Chupacabras approach her at high speed and attacks him, was leaving him dead. In the morning, when Tony gets up, first he eats his favorite breakfast, which was hotcakes with bacon, and goes out for a morning walk to check if everything was alright, but he found the security guard had died. So he runs to tell everyone on the ranch about the situation. Then Phineas must have to recollect evidence of the guard's bones and realize that it couldn't have been an animal. That is a legend that he thought did not exist. This was the chupacabras, and they decide to must have come up with a animal with a plan. But first, Phineas started to investigate more about this species in the laboratory, since supposedly what that believed to be the Chupacabras did not kill people, only animals, but they realized that it had really changed. As a part of their plan, they had sent Pucberto as a trap to distract him. They set several traps and managed to capture him. To Fiona, it seems a bit risky and fanciful, but Tony Montana has already gone through situation like this. And what's worse, he was sure he couldn't stop the chupacabras. Tony spent all everything putting traps all around the ranch.
Travel is that the chupacabras almost always attacked in early morning hours, so they waited up until 2:30 a.m. and listening to noises they had heard on the day of the concert at 3 a.m. and they heard. They might have thought found the creature, and they had heard the day of the concert, and they all ran to their positions to execute the plan. So the first trap they sent Puerto to the side where the noises were heard, but suddenly nothing was here anymore. What they didn't know is that Chupacabra was approaching little by little, suddenly to Puerto to take him and run away to eat him. And all the traps they had were of the news used to them. So when the release that taken had taken Puerto, and they must have become sadder, because he was the mascot of the ranch and they hated the chupacabra even more. So they thought that they should have attacked him with something directly, because looking him up or a pest was not going to do him much harm. So while they were looking for another way to kill the chupacabra, he was circling the ranch near Fiona ranches to attack people and animals because he was hungry after eating puerco. So his first attack on a person that night was only 62 years old man who was getting up early at 5 a.m. to feed his animals, where the chupacabra came up on his and killed him. And they ran off into the woods today again. At 6 a.m., he attacked a car that was going down the road to get the ranches, restructuring the tires, and they breaking the windows to eat it.
Phineas decided to create a destructive weapon to be able to give it to Tony Montana, and it could kill the chupacabras. He spent hours and hours in the creation of it. He had been in his basement for days, fusing chemicals to make the weapon much more damaging, so that the chupacabras couldn't withstand the impact. Tony Montana proposed to Phineas some specific things that the weapon should have in order to kill the beast. Among them was that the pistol be light and not very heavy, so that it would not get tired. Tony Montana was waiting while Phineas was building the gun. Finally, he managed to create a weapon that launched lightning and discus burns, and extreme heat so that the chupacabras was made ashes and couldn't regenerate again. Phineas gave Tony Montana the gun, and he, very happy and with his brave attitude, went to look for the beast to finish him off once and for all. He waited until dark, on the outskirts of the city, hearing sounds and being very alert around him. After hours and hours of waiting and no signs, the chupacabras finally arrived, and Tony Montana had already started shooting. He appeared to him in a somewhat intimidating way. Tony Montana was not afraid, and he was shooting with a commanding attitude towards the beast, while the chupacabras was trying to touch it, but he couldn't. The animal received 5 consecutive hits from the lethal weapon created by Phineas, and finally they managed to finish off the chupacabras, and this avenged the death of many. But Tony thought that he had gone.
After Tony Montana killed the chupacabra, the city was quiet for a while until they began to suspect that it may not really be dead, because animal corpses kept appearing and even strange noises could be heard. The city began to lose calm and to think that the monstrous species could be back. It was dangerous. Many people even reinforced the security in their house because the monster might be in the town. Other people were totally sure that Tony had killed him, until a very dark and cold night began to cloud a whole city, thanks to dense with fog that covered the sight of any person. The bigger and muscular with red eyes, only a scream was heard, and the rest is story of a spooky night in that ranch. So the people who live in Fiona's ranch They were running for weapons and more weapons to finally finish with that problem they had, which was the chupacabra. Tony grabbed again the weapon and that Phineas had created for the revenge. The chupacabras entered as if nothing to the center of the ranch where everyone went running to surround him to attack him. But this time he was faster, so he was able to attack Phineas was was injured him, and that was maxing angry to Tom. Then Tony took out his favorite weapon and passed Phineas' weapon to Fiona, and between the two of them, they gave him blast until finally the Chupacabra died. And they got rid for him forever because they didn't want any more surprises. Phineas recovered and Tony returned to Colombia to continue working with Maluma, and everything returned to normal.